Joanne Wood. Joanne is in her second year of membership with OC Toasters, having earned the confident speaker designation at the Sunrise Speakers Club in Aliso Viejo prior to joining this club. She is working on the Advanced Communication Series, technical presentations, and competent leadership assignments. Today she is completing assignment 2 of the Advanced Communication Series, technical presentations. The title of her speech is BRS Presenting to State EIA WC Performance Auditor Selection Committee. She requests the audience to play the role of the selection committee for statewide EIA, who has requested her attendance at the finalist interview in a vendor selection process. There will be time at the end of her speech to ask questions, and part of the assignment is to effectively handle the question and answer period. With no further delay, let me introduce Joanne.
I'll be asking for audience participation as I'm handing out 3 presentations to each section of the room, and hoping that you will share and that 3 people will be willing to think about asking a question or 2 during the question and answer session near the end of this speech. I really want to thank Statewide Excess Insurance Authority for welcoming Better Risk Services to this finalist interview. Our auditing team has worked with you in the past while we were with a different employer. And it is my hope and desire that through this interview I can help you to realize why we can provide even better services here at Better Risk Services than we did with our prior employer. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. My purpose in providing this interview is to convince you that BRS meets the statewide selection considerations. You have identified your selection criteria in your request for proposals, and these include demonstrated experience, performance that will be on target with your desired auditing, stability so that you can count on the audits being completed each year for all of the members who have audits coming due, professionalism so that you are confident that the auditors will represent your guidelines in such a way that each and every one of your members throughout the state will desire to handle their claims in a manner that is consistent with your guidelines. You want to have a vendor who has a team with appropriate credentials. BRS was founded in 1984. We have completed over 600 actuarial claim and risk management assignments for more than 150 public entities throughout the United States in the past 5 years. Each and every one of these projects we have competed for with other vendors, and we have been selected for each one because of the team that we have presented to complete the work and the confidence we have been able to instill in those prospective clients at this stage of an interview process. So we're hoping that you will agree with those clients and hire us as well. In our detailed proposal, we have provided you with VRS references. We have chosen references who can tell you about our performance in similar projects to the ones that you want to have completed. They can attest to the stability of our staff. We schedule an audit, we show up, we talk to the audit subject, we find out about how they do things to meet requirements, and then we test a sample of claims and follow through in determining whether or not they actually are meeting the requirements. We have professionalism in presenting any deficits, any gaps that occur between their desire to meet the requirements and their actual performance, so that we review with them what their procedures are. There may be procedural gaps. There may be training gaps. Their staff may not understand their procedures. So we will sort out where the gaps occur and why they are occurring, and speak to their management team to develop an action plan so that their stakeholders are fully engaged in the process. GT, when you look at our VRS team, you'll recognize GT because our president happens to be the same person who was on the team of consultants that was chosen by the state of California to formulate your organization. He was chosen because he knew the insurance market. He was involved in the commercial insurance market that abandoned California public entities in the early 1980s because of poor underwriting results. He was well aware of the reasons why those poor underwriting results occurred. And he was able to help you formulate procedures that would troubleshoot and prevent that from happening in a self-insured environment. Our audit team includes myself. I will manage the team, and I will also participate in the field work performing audits with your members. I enjoyed working with your members and your claims committee from 2003 through 2010, when GT asked me to join VRS and I left my former employer. They did continue to honor the contract that I left with them, and I understand they did a good job. Part of the reason they were able to do that is because I had put my foot down when they would develop conflicts on my time and want me to go off on broker assignments. I would say, no, can't do it. This location down in San Diego has put together their resources to accommodate this audit, and I'm committed here for the next 2 weeks. So if you want me to run off to Alaska to handle a claim review, or off to Oregon or somewhere else, you're going to have to provide me with backup. And I was very insistent on getting them to do that. Consequently, I did have backup when I left, and there were people who understood the auditing process, and they were able to fill my shoes and complete the contract requirements. Now you're opening up the selection process and giving us an opportunity to work with you again, and we really appreciate that. We have the depth of staffing to handle the assignments. We work with some of the same auditors we worked with before. We've added a legal guru who can assist us in understanding some of the legal changes that are taking place. We also have a project manager, and this will help us to execute our scope of work activities. We will select a sample and get agreement with our site. We will comply with your sampling strategy, which we agree with. We can have audit effectiveness and promote the selection of auditing within your sample and stick with your budget. We will interview the audit subjects and provide them with our findings and communicate with their staff, incorporate their feedback into our draft report, and provide you with final reports that give you recommendations for compliance with state and federal regulations and statewide own guidelines. One of the things that we know that is dear to you is the return to work process, as injured workers do tend to recover better when they know that their injury is not going to prevent them from having earnings in their future. We will look at the core processes of each and every member, communicate and stimulate cooperative communications with the stakeholders, and have them involved in procedures that are compliant with ADA. I'd like to open it up to questions at this time.
You talked about injured people returning to work. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? In other words, I know my sister was off work and then she ended up being laid off because she didn't come back in a timely manner.
That can happen. And one reason that that happens is a lack of consistency in providing modified work on a timely manner. Oftentimes, a doctor is willing to provide work restrictions and allow a return to work within those restrictions. That completely interrupts the 13-week time frame that someone is allowed to be off work. So, and oftentimes, an accommodation of light-duty restrictions is 168 days. Many injuries can be resolved within 168 days. So if we can work with getting those restrictions within a 13-week period, placing someone in a modified job, we give them the opportunity to stay with that employer.
So would you say a best practice is to have modified work available in the event you have an injury, and to be prepared to go with that person to the hospital and ask the treating physician to choose a modified work duty?
Yes. And what we are finding is by developing bridge assignments with the members, even in police and fire departments, they have jobs. And one of the first questions we ask them, without regard to what someone's work capacity is, what would you use someone for if you had 5 additional positions given to you today? And oftentimes, they are activities that involve making phone calls, sorting out paperwork, all things that can be accomplished during a light-duty assignment. Yes?
When evaluating these situations, do you look for fraud on the part of the employee as well as how well the claim was handled?
Yes, we do. And one thing to keep in mind is that fraud requires criminal scienter, which means a total disregard for resource allocation where it should be, as opposed to responsibility to mitigate the loss. There can be a fine line between malingering, which is really stimulated by a lack of understanding of the healing process, versus committing a felony, which is what fraud is. And that needs to be sorted out. That brings us to a conclusion of our interview. I know you've got other interview subjects waiting outside, so I'm going to end the interview now. Thank you.
Yes, the speaker.
Please take a moment and fill out your evaluation.